we're doing this series, and we're calling it Unqualified. The Unqualified. And so today we're going to talk about the unqualified warrior. Just to get this going this morning, we're just going to set this in motion. Is, do you realize that you are not qualified to be married to the person that you're married to? They deserve better. Do you realize that you are not qualified to have parents as good as your parents? I was waiting for the applause. Because your parents deserve better kids than you. Do you realize that your children deserve better parents than you? Because you're really not that great of a parent. Okay? Now, I'm saying all this because the kingdom of heaven, when we're talking about this, it's not about being good enough or being qualified enough. The fact is that we are living this life by grace. By grace. And it's not about accomplishing this or being this or having it all together. It's about having our confidence in God. Now this morning what we're going to talk about awakening the warrior in you. Sometimes we need to wake that warrior up in us because there's something in us that God wants to do something about. So we're going to kind of visit that battle with David and Goliath a little bit. And so everybody has a Goliath. You don't necessarily face a big old giant guy, but you face some big old giant issues, right? Because Goliath is not always something that we're afraid of. Oftentimes Goliath is something that we dread. You ever have something in front of you, just like, oh, I don't want to do this. I'm going to talk about just going to work. I'm talking about way worse stuff, right? And so now the name of Goliath, it's been kind of attributed to some really gigantic stuff. And so Goliath it's a bigger presence, it's bigger weapons, it's a bigger resume, and so bigger threats. So we all face these bigger than life issues that are in front of us. And now other people will look at the things that we face and they'll say, that's not a big deal. You ever everybody say, oh, that's nothing. That's because it's not their Goliath. Like when I was really trying hard to quit smoking, people say, I just quit just like that. Like, shut up. I hate you. Because for me, it was huge. It was a big issue. See, when it's not your Goliath, it's not your battle, it's not your life, it's not your history, not your story, you don't understand my Goliath. But we all face these really, really big issues. Now, I don't want you to think that everything is always bad, because most of the time for us, things are okay. Most of the time. But sometimes we face really big stuff that is really intimidating, and we feel like we can't win. You say, well, how big is he? Well, we've tried to defeat the Goliath stuff in our life before, and it didn't come out so good. We got beat down or depressed or something like that. So here's how you know who he is, okay? So Goliath is unemployment or layoffs, or they cut back your hours. Goliath is doctor's reports that you can't wrap your head around. Goliath is abandonment, abuse, or loneliness. Goliath is depression that you're trying to fight off. He shows up at the office, on the job site, in the classroom. Shows up in your living room or in your bedroom in the middle of the night. That's who Goliath is. He's the bills you can't pay, the grades you can't make, the places you won't go, the things you won't do, the stuff you can't resist. It's the people that you can never please. It's the job that you hate. It's the past we can't get past and the future we dread. That's what Goliath's roar sounds like. We all face Goliaths. So Pastor Dylan's going to help us understand how Goliath roars this morning. Give it up for Pastor Dylan.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Dave. So I'm honored to share just a little bit with you guys today about how Goliath roars in our lives. And he doesn't just roar, but he roars every single day. Yeah. There's always something. And for some of us, he roars so loudly that it consumes our thoughts. Thoughts of anxiety, thoughts of fear, thoughts of anger, thoughts of depression. We are so quick to put ourselves down, and we're so quick to put others down. We can walk into a room that is so unfamiliar and with unfamiliar people, and instead of looking at it as an opportunity to show God's love, we walk into it with a spirit of fear, wondering what everybody else is thinking about us. We're so quick to take on a spirit of offense because of the smallest thing that somebody said, or the smallest thing that somebody didn't say, or how you weren't invited. I was faced with a situation this week where I wasn't invited to something, a family Thanksgiving thing, and I didn't even get invited. But it would be so easy to take on a spirit of offense and to try to fight that battle on my own. But I know that if I leave this in God's hands, then He will see it through. But you see, these voices, these giants, they roar in our lives every single day. So we look to the scriptures, the advantage that God has given us over the enemy. And the scripture declares that I am more than a conqueror through Him who loves me. But if that's the case, then why do I always feel unloved? The scriptures declare that no weapon formed against me shall prosper, and that if God is for us, then who can be against us? But if that's the case, then why do I always feel like I'm under attack? You see, we got to know today the same thing that David knew. David knew that struggles will come.
That's right.
There will be a battle. There will be Goliaths that we face. And one thing I've learned about myself, and I don't know about you, but I've learned this about myself recently, is that I am too surprised by the struggle. I'm too surprised by the struggles that come against me. And this is especially something new for me because I have to say something. Marriage is the best thing ever. It is amazing. At least right now, it's amazing. And personally, I'm not saying there aren't struggles. I'm not saying that conflict can just come out of nowhere sometimes. You can go from something that you would think would be so fun, like picking out a Christmas tree or Christmas decorations, to like wanting to fight each other because you can't agree on which color to get. By the way, she wanted like some rose gold and some teal Christmas bulb things to go on our tree. I wasn't having it. But sure enough, we ended up with rose gold bulbs on the tree. But you see, the worst battles, though, that you can find yourselves in are the ones that you didn't see coming. But David, he wasn't surprised that he was facing struggles. He wasn't intimidated by them. He wasn't stopped by them, but he accepted them. You need to wake up every day of your life knowing that you may face battles. The person you wake up next to in the morning may come against you. The bills that you have to pay may come against you. The pain that you feel getting yourself up out of bed may come against you. A person that you work with may come against you. But maybe that's why Jesus warned us in John 16:33. He said, in this world you will have trouble. You will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world. If you're too surprised by the struggles, you won't be armed for the fight. You'll be caught off guard every time. You see, David's confidence was not just something that he spoke of, it was what he walked in. He had the kind of confidence to declare victory over the battle before it even began. And it wasn't because he was braver than other men. It wasn't because he was stronger than other men. It wasn't because he was more qualified. It was because he knew that the battle didn't belong to him.
That's right.
All he had to do was to trust in the one who placed him in front of Goliath, the one who allowed him to be in the fight to begin with. See, God allowed you to be a husband. God allowed you to be a wife. God allowed you to be a mother. God allowed you to be a father. He allowed you to be a son and a daughter. He allowed you to be in the very position that you are in right now because He is in control. The Goliath that you're facing in your life, don't think of it as a burden. Think of it as an opportunity to show the world around you that God is in control.
Woo. That's right.
So just like we face today, David faced this, but I'm going to finish with this. When David's focus was on God, giants fell. When his focus was not on God, David fell. So would you guys help me give it up for our pastor to finish this?
All right, way to go, Dylan. Thank you. Just in case you were wondering, Dylan has been married for a month now. Little context. Marriage is great, which you fully believe the first few months, and you learn again after the first few years. But anyway, in the first service, I gotta say, the first service, he was really sucking up to his wife and his in-laws. Second service, not so much. So I'm thinking between services, they probably told him he's not getting what he thought he was for Christmas. Just wondering. Anyway, all right. So, but anyway, so we're talking about Goliath, and Dylan made some good points about how Goliath roars. So, and I want to just kind of throw this out there that I love this statement that Dylan said that when David's focus was on God, the giants fell, but when his focus wasn't, that's when David crashed and burned. So the greatest miracle that took place on the battlefield wasn't that the rock found its place. It wasn't that Goliath went down. It wasn't the armies gathered around. The greatest miracle that took place on the battlefield that day is the change that happened in the heart and life of David when he stepped out on the battlefield. And so here's the deal. So Goliath wasn't a man that David was facing. Goliath was something that was standing in the way of David's destiny. So that's the worth of it. That's when things change. So destiny is what's buried in the heart of every warrior. There's a destiny that is buried in you, and not until you get to the place where you're facing something you can't possibly live without will that warrior awaken in you. There's this story, it's in the book of Exodus chapter 3, where Moses sees an Egyptian beating a Hebrew mercilessly. Now, he doesn't even have to get involved. He could just walk right by. He's been living the life of leisure. He lives in a palace. Everything is good. Nobody actually even knew who he was. He could have just walked right on by, like the proverb said, not my circus, not my monkeys. I don't have to get involved, right? You can use that one. But see, when he was watching that, what he saw, he couldn't just simply watch. He had to do something. So the warrior in Moses was awakened. So he risked everything. He lost everything. He gave his all for something that he absolutely could not walk right on by. And so what's it going to take for us to be willing to risk it all? You see, temptation will ask you to risk things foolishly, selfishly. But the warrior in you will risk things courageously. That's the difference. Okay, so now something that's interesting about this story of David and Goliath. Before David showed up on the battlefield, Goliath had been coming out for a lot of days. And every time Goliath would come out and he would say what he had to say, everybody would go and hide before this took place, right? And so here's what's interesting. So why would they come and hide? Well, because just like us, I've lost too many battles, got too many scars. Things haven't gone well a few times. My God, don't bring that up again. Right? Just look straight ahead right now. I'm going to throw something out there. You ever had an issue come up in your home and you're like, I ain't saying nothing? You'll even have other people in your house look at you like you're going to say anything. Like, see, when we're facing the Goliath issues, because of our history sometimes is what eclipses our destiny. So I want you to get this. See, the Goliath in your life, he will let you dress for battle. He will let you step out of the battlefield. He'll let you rattle your weapons every once in a while. He will even let you win a few battles. But when it gets down to it, the battle that really, really matters the most, his goal is to get you to run away and hide. Now watch this. This just blows me away. Goliath never drew his sword. Never. He never raised his spear. He never held his shield. Goliath never struck a single blow in the battle. But yet every single time he came out, the army of Israel ran away and hid. Because he convinced himself it's too hard, he's too big, it's too impossible to face. See, watch this. Just because they ran away doesn't mean that they're cowards. What it means is they felt unqualified. You ever face a battle that you felt unqualified? I remember this was years ago that we had a friend of ours that he came to our house and we started talking church and all that kind of stuff. And then he made this statement. He's sitting in our living room And he said, okay, I'm ready. And both Loretta and I, we just kind of looked at each other. And we said, ready for what? He goes, I want to follow Jesus too. What do I do? We're calling the pastor. Isn't that just lame? I felt unqualified. I felt what was in front of me was too much for me to handle. Winning that battle, helping that man, scared me. And it wasn't that I was a coward, mostly. But I felt unqualified. See, that's why this series is a big deal, right? See, being unqualified is the lie that we whisper to the warrior inside. So what lies have you whispered to the warrior inside of you that made you stop? So when David stepped out on that battlefield, he stopped by a stream and he picked out 5 stones. Everybody say 5. You know what's important about those 5 stones? Me either, I don't know. David has no armor, no sword, no shield, no spear, no training, no hope, and no chance of winning this battle. They see him step out on the battlefield. It's like, can I have his room? Right? No chance. You know, before we came to Porterville, I was working a job that kept me out of town 6 days a week. I was making really good money, but I was never home. And part of the reason that they paid really good money is that it was a really dangerous job. Loretta was enjoying the income, and secretly I think that she was hoping for the insurance. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. That was funny, though. That was funny. I was a welder on these huge structures. And one day that me and this other guy, we were working the inside and outside, and I was on the outside. And I went to move, and I slipped. And I started sliding off the edge. And I'm a long ways from the ground, and what was going to meet me on the ground was a whole bunch of rebar sticking straight up. And to make things really feel great, as the guy on the other side lost sight of me, I heard him yell, "Dave's dead." Wow. I had like about half a second to think, Jesus, buddy, this is it. And boy, is this going to hurt a lot. And I slid down and I landed on a board that was just below me that I didn't know was there. The only board actually left in the structure. God saved me. But see, here's the thing. See, that's not even the big deal. This is the big deal. I felt unqualified to take a step forward, even though I knew that God was changing things in my life. Anybody been there? You know what I'm talking about? I felt unqualified. I said, I don't know that I could do this. So I stalled. Anybody ever stall? Come on, I need a couple friends. One of these days, I'm going to do this. So God took the unqualified and placed him in the uncomfortable. When God is getting ready to make a transition in your life, my friends, he will take the unqualified and put the unqualified in the midst of the uncomfortable, because when it gets uncomfortable enough, the change looks pretty good. Anybody know what I'm talking about? So here's David out on the battlefield. He feels unqualified. That's why he didn't take the armor. He feels unqualified. That's why he's not dressed like a king. He's dressed like a kid. Because that's what he is. He stops by the stream, this young man of incredible faith. He picks out 5 stones. Everybody say 5. I'm glad he picked 5 stones. You know why? I don't have enough faith to get it right the first time. Anybody else know what I'm talking about? I rarely get it right the first time. I need a couple friends. Anybody never get it right the first time? I'm glad he picked 5 stones because you know what? Second chances don't always work for me. Anybody know that second chances don't always work for you? Come on, I need a few friends. Anybody ever blow a second chance? Say, all right, buddy, here's your second chance. Yep, jack that one too. I'm glad he picked 5 stones because for guys like me, third time is not always a charm. Sometimes third time is a curse. Anybody blown it 3 times? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Take off my shoes. I'm glad he picked 5 stones because if 4 is good, 5 is like a heck of a lot better. See, I think God will let you choose as many stones as you think you need. Because faith is not the absence of fear. Faith is in spite of our fear. Faith doesn't say, you know what, I'm not afraid. Faith says, you know what, I am afraid, but I'm going to do it anyway. Why? Because God is going with me. You're not coming against me. You're not coming against my family. You're not coming against my house. You're coming against God. So I'm stepping out on the battlefield, not in my strength, but in the strength and power of the mighty Jesus Christ that is in me. Here's what David said in 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 46. He said that all the world will know that there is a God in Israel. I'm going to change that around. God is doing things so that you will know that there is a God inside of you who goes with you, fights for you, and empowers you and challenges you to be the person that he's called you to be. God will let you pick as many stones as you want, as many as you think you need. There's been times I would have brought a wheelbarrow. Anybody know what I'm talking about? What if I miss? What if I shank this thing? What if he don't go down? Oh God, what if he gets up? See, you do whatever you need to do. Step on the battlefield because God already knows he only needs one. So God needs one person to do what he wants them to do and one stone to get it done. Pick up however many you want to. God's going to use one. So this is a Christmas season, right? See, the Christmas story is about the unlikely that think they're unqualified. It's not about the unqualified. The Christmas story is about the unlikely. It's highly unlikely that a miracle would happen in a town like Bethlehem. See, your song's got it all messed up. See, if it was in the Central Valley, it would say, "Oh, little town of Plainview." Oh, little town of Ducor. It's unlikely that God would do a miracle in Bethlehem. It's unlikely that God would use a nobody like Joseph. It's unlikely that God would take a plain Jane girl like Mary. It's unlikely that God would have these shepherds out of the field and an angel would show up. It's unlikely that 3 wise men would take incredible riches and give them to somebody that they don't even know. But here's what I'm saying, my friends. You are not unqualified, my friend. You are only unlikely, and God chooses to do the incredible with the likes of the unlikely like you and I. Why? Because we likely need a Savior. So we need somebody to live a life that is likely like ours. And boy, am I out of breath. It's easier felt than telt. So, however many stones you need to give you the courage to face your Goliath, God says, pick them up. If you need 40, pick up 40. If you need 2, pick up 2. If you need 4 friends with wheelbarrows, whatever it takes to get you to step out. Because God only needs one. He needs one man, one woman, one boy, one girl, and one stone to get it done. you facing a Goliath? Today's the day for victory. Could I get you to bow your heads and close your eyes for a moment? So you know it's a Goliath when it's something there that you know you just can't watch. You just can't sit idly by. You've got to do something. Something stirs up in you. The warrior is awakened and something has to take place. But you're sitting in this room today and you're facing something huge. And you don't feel like you have the courage to step out. Show me your hand real fast. Say, that's me, Pastor. I'm scared. I'm worried. I'm nervous. Come on, you're sitting here and say, you know what, my family is in trouble. My finances are on really shaky ground. I'm worried about myself. I'm not doing so good. I'm really struggling right now. If that's you, just show me a hand. Say, Pastor Dave, that's me. I'm the one. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's Goliath. Could I get you to stand to your feet this morning, please? Listen. Listen. Faith is not the absence of fear. David wasn't brave. He wasn't tough. Matter of fact, if you dig into how the Bible describes him, this is funny. He was like that scrawny redheaded kid. I think he probably weighed maybe like 135 pounds. So he felt completely unqualified. But when he heard what Goliath said, he couldn't just watch. You can't watch your family crumble. You can't do it. You can't watch your marriage fall apart. You can't do it. You can't watch your life just kind of fold up and go away. You can't watch that. You can't watch your kids wander off. You can't watch your parents just barely making it. You can't watch see, that's what I'm saying. God gets the unqualified in uncomfortable places so he can reveal the warrior on the inside. It's time to awaken the warrior, my friend. However many stones you got to get. See, when I came to Porterville, I had an old coffee can full of rocks. Because I was scared. I was scared. I knew it was the right thing to do, but I was scared. Here's what we're going to do. However many chances you need, however many failures you've had, God will use one. See, when David stepped out there, everybody was expecting, been nice knowing you, buddy. It's over. They expected the inevitable. But what they saw was the unthinkable. Instead of David being slung around like he was the sling, they watched the giant fall on his face. See, David wasn't that good, but David knew that God. So I'm going to ask you to make some kind of a move this morning. Maybe you stand right where you're at and pray. I find that it's a lot better when I have somebody else praying with me. Because sometimes when I'm struggling, my prayer is it sounds like a CD with a scratch on it. But when somebody else prays with me, I feel powerful. That's why our prayer partners are here. So you do it however you got to do it. However many rocks you got to pick up. This Goliath's going down. Turn to somebody and tell them this Goliath's going down. Okay, let's pray.